Hi everyone, hope all is well with you today. I thought I'd take you on a little ride for this dye experiment. As you know, I've been experimenting with different color mixes the last few days. We did the pink triangle. Yesterday we did a whole different shades of red and brown and gold, which actually turned out beautifully. It almost looks like rust. And today I just thought I'm going to experiment with some greens. And in the dye pan I have 5 skeins of Soul sock yarn from African Expressions. As you know, that's African Expressions is the only yarn that I dye. And they were soaked for about half an hour, 45 minutes, first in water. And then I pumped them into the dye bath that was left over from yesterday. So there definitely is still some citric acid in here. So the dye should strike fairly quickly. And then on our color chart, on our color circle, we use the CMY color circle. So yellow, or that is bright yellow, and turquoise, that is the cyan equivalent of the C part of CMYK, is turquoise. And then the bright yellow is obviously the Y part, the yellow. So everywhere between bright yellow and turquoise will be shades of green. So that's what I want to experiment with those. And then actually just to add some green accents, we have pre-mixed greens from Ashford dyes. As there's of course the dyes that I use, Ashford protein dyes for protein fibers. And they are called Peacock and Shamrock. And I'm not quite sure, it should show up on the camera, but the Peacock almost is leaning more into the blue side, and the Shamrock is leading more into the yellow side of the turquoise and the bright yellow. So what I'm going to start off by doing is putting the yellow on first. Now this yellow is a 1% solution, I mustn't forget, and the turquoise is a 2% solution. Just there were some questions on what that means. A 1% stock solution would be 1 gram of dye to 100 milliliters of water. So for every 100 milliliters of dye stock, I should have 1 gram of dye powder. Now this is half a liter. This is 1 liter, so it's 10 times that. So in a 2% stock solution, that means 50 milliliters. So if I were to use 50 milliliters of this, I would have 1 gram of dye powder. Now depth of shade wise, you technically, or the recommendation from Ashford is 1 gram of dye powder per 100 grams of wool. So I have 500 grams of wool here. So if I use only 50 milliliters of this, I would have 1/5, so 20% depth of shade across. I rarely use more than 50 milliliters, so I never even get anywhere close to that. Having said that, I have 4 colors here. So if I use a 20%, or 0.2%, so 0.2 grams of dye of each of the colors, I would actually end up almost with the full, concentration of dyes that they would recommend. Anyway, that was just a little bit of a backstory on that. So let's start with the yellow. That's what I wanted to do. This yellow is a 1% stock solution, which means 100 milliliters of this would be 1 gram. So I can be a little bit more heavy-handed with the yellow. So what I'm going to do is, my pipette is only a 3 milliliter pipette. So let's count with me. I'm just going wild. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is 30 milliliters. I want to go for 60. So let's do another 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that would be 60 milliliters. So we're bordering on the equivalent of this would be 30. So I'm going to do exactly the same with the turquoise, except this time I'm only going to do 30 milliliters. So let's do 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Oh, doesn't that look pretty? Almost like a bit of a tartan gingham feel. But immediately, as one can see, the turquoise and the yellow has started mixing. And the result, of course, is going to be green. And a quite a few shades of different shades of green. I just want to get a cloth and wipe up this excess dye before it causes a problem. Obviously, just as you see, I got quite overzealous, so the dye went everywhere. Let's just mop that up. Give the counter a bit of a wipe in case that went off over to the side. Great stuff. Okay, so what one can actually also already tell, I don't know if you can see that green that's resulted in here. So I'm just going to let this sit for a little bit, and then I want to start adding the powders on. So what I thought is the skeins are arranged lengthways down like this. So I thought if I do maybe concentrating more of one of them on the bottom side and one of them on the top side, although I am quite tempted to flip this whole lot. That's why I wanted to bring you along today. Also a little bit of an insight into the creative process, because I have zero plan when I do these things. I kind of let the project dictate where it wants to go. I more or less know the colors that I want to use, and I really sway from those colors. But what exactly I do with them and how they react with each other, I allow to happen by itself. So what shall we do? Are we just going to pick it up and turn it? I think so. We're going to first help it through a little bit. Let's just pick it up and turn it. See what that does. Let's be brave. Okay, so we're just turning that one. And you're just going to turn that one. And we're going to turn that one. Oh, it's just this. I love these. It's almost creating like a chartreuse here, where the yellow and the is still almost in its yellow form. You know, like I want to say almost like the color of a tennis ball. You can go Google it, but I read a very interesting story or article about tennis ball yellow to answer once and for all the debate, is a tennis ball green or is it yellow? Because it's sort of a mix between yellow and green. It's not quite green, it's not quite yellow. What color do you call it? Prior to that, tennis balls were white. And then when television was invented, the tennis ball didn't show up on the TV screen, so they changed its color. Interesting, useless information. So now we've turned it. I actually do like what I see, but I'm going to carry on with the idea of adding the powder. So shall we add put on some gloves for that? I have other gloves for the powder, just because they're a lot tighter. It allows me to handle the powder much better. As you can see, they're already quite stained with powder. And let's put up the other one. Alrighty, so I'm still going to though restrict the Shamrock to one side and the Peacock to one side. Which side doesn't really matter. So what I always like to do with the powder is open it over the work, because this powder is extremely fine, it goes everywhere. So I'm just going to take a pinchful and sprinkle it over this part. Let's do another pinchful. Make sure I've more or less got it evenly over the whole thing. Now, in past experience, I know that's where I should stop, because this dye is extremely pigmented and a little bit goes a very long way. You can see here what it looks like. I'm going to go rinse my fingers. Alrighty, let's dry them off thoroughly, and then I can go with the, oh dear, what did I add now? Shamrock or Peacock? Oh my goodness. Let's have a look. Yes, so that was the Shamrock. Now we're going to do the Peacock. Okay, we're going to just open it over the work here. Grab a good pinchful. Distribute it over the end here. I don't mind if there are a few little lumps here and there. And stop. Don't add any more, plain twin. See, that's always the danger. I get so excited to be adding powder that I want to just get completely involved with it. So you're really not actually going to really see it on here, but remember I said the Peacock tends to the blue side and the Shamrock tends to the yellow side. One can really see it on the glove. There's a lot more, almost a purple undertone. Peacock is a gorgeous, gorgeous green color. You'll see now, I think I'll take you off the stand and show you. Let me just take this glove off. This one's quite tricky because it's really tight. I think my right hand is bigger than my left hand. Okay, let's take you off the stand and then have a look. Alrighty, that's what it's now then looking like. So the Shamrock powder is on this side and the Peacock powder is on that side. And you can definitely see there's more of a, the light's not all that great, a purpley undertone to this green, as opposed to this green has a lot more of a yellow undertone. You can see it if I hold it here together. You see that green is a bit different to this green. But because green is made up of a mix of yellow and turquoise, you're going to have the different shades between the two. So that's what it's looking like at the moment. Now this is where it's tricky. Do I stop? Do I do anything more? What I'm tempted to do is to take a little bit more yellow and just sort of sprinkle it on. Shall we do yellow powder? Let's have a look. Put you back on the stand there. I do think I'm going to take some yellow powder and sprinkle that in the middle here between the two. Why not? It's my experiment. I can do what I want. And I'm not going to bother with a glove. I already have yellow from yesterday. These little papers are nearly done. So let's take some yellow. I will overlap a little bit onto the other side there. And overlap a little bit onto this side here. And some in the middle. Now you're saying, but Clayton, you're putting on way too much. Actually, no, because the yellow is a lot less volume, well, actually a greater volume of pigment. Greater volume, I don't know how to explain that. There's a lot more particles for the same amount of pigment than these two. I think almost the darker the color goes, the finer it's milled. If that makes any sense. Yes, that was a good decision. I really like that. Shall we just, for the vis and the onvis, as they say in Afrikaans, add some turquoise powder? Yes, I'm going to. So let me rinse my finger. So this is also how we're going to be building depth to this colorway. And let me get the turquoise out. So now we're going for turquoise, which is the same as the liquid. This is fun, don't you think? Okay, let's open the turquoise. Open it over the thing in case some falls out here. So where are we going to put the turquoise? Maybe just in 3 little stripes. Now the turquoise is very finely milled, so I don't want to put too much of it. I'm just going to do a little bit down the middle here. And then just a stripe down here. And just a small stripe at the top this end. And that is enough. The turquoise is very pigmented. I'm not going to mess around with that anymore. Oh, this is looking fantastic. I'll just wash my hand, rinse it off, and then I'll take you off the stand. And then come and show you just the difference what that has made. Oh, it's just looking gorgeous. And there we go. What do you think of that? I think that looks just really, really cool. Let's just summarize here again. So on that side, we had the Shamrock. This side, we had the Peacock. In the middle, I did some bright yellow powder. And then we've done the 3 stripes of turquoise. As you can see what that's looking like. We've got 1 turquoise stripe there, 1 turquoise stripe here, and on this side you can barely see it because, as I said, the peacock already is tending more into the turquoise side, so that turquoise stripe isn't anywhere nearly as defined as this turquoise stripe. And obviously in the middle, see already how the turquoise is mixed with the yellow. You can barely see it. Just a little bit over there. We mostly are just seeing green. Oh, let's just look at that patch over there. Anyway, that's what our little creation is looking like at the moment. So I'm just going to leave it. Let it soak up all these dyes. I'll start heating it. And then I'm dying to show you the results. Just quickly to see again here. We've got the turquoise, Ashford dye, turquoise, Shamrock, Peacock, and bright yellow, which I've used also dye stock versions of those. That's what that little sample looked like in the beginning. So when we mixed the turquoise and the yellow, that's what we got. So there we go. This is the setup so far. And I will check in with you later so we can have a look what it's looking like. Thanks so much for joining me for this exciting adventure into mixing greens. And stay well, stay safe. Until next time. Bye.